Morning, Team Alabama. We are ready for Chapter 7, and 42 is not just a number, the story about Jackie Robinson. And it is page 26. Please find that on your Chromebooks now. From private to lieutenant, July to August of 1942. In 9 weeks of basic training at Fort Riley, Kansas, the constant push-ups, sit-ups, mile runs, climbing rope, bridges and ladders, and rappelling down 50-foot wooden walls had tested every bit of Jackie's strength and endurance. His football injury plagued him through it all, but he had passed with flying colors. He was ranked an expert marksman, and his character was rated excellent. Along with other black soldiers in his unit, he applied to Officer Candidate School, or OCS. 3 months passed, and he should have been accepted into OCS by now. So should the other black soldiers in his unit who had passed basic training with flying colors. White privates who had performed less well had been accepted, yet here he was, stuck grooming horses. He was outraged. Segregation and prejudice existed in the Army as in civilian life. Blacks and whites were separated into different units, slept in separate barracks, and ate in separate mess halls. Even the buses on the base were segregated. When Jackie tried to join Fort Riley's baseball team, a white player told him that the officer in charge had said, "I'll break up the team before I have a on it." Frustrated and determined, Jackie, along with a group of other black soldiers, went seeking an answer. If they had passed all the tests for OCS, why were they not in school? Their question came to naught. Jackie knew that the Army didn't consider Negroes officer material. He shared his frustration with his friend Joe Lewis, another recruit at the base, who happened to be a heavyweight boxing champion of the world. In his career, Lewis had won 27 fights in a row. Then on June 19th of 1936, a German boxer named Max Schmeling beat him. Joe didn't let that defeat keep him down. He kept fighting to get his crown back, and he did. Even then, he wasn't satisfied. "I don't want nobody to call me champ until I beat Schmeling," he had announced to the world in a rematch. Lewis knocked out Schmeling in just 2 minutes and 4 seconds in the first round. American pride soared. Joe Lewis knew lots of important people, and after listening to Jackie's plight, telephoned a friend who worked for the Secretary of War, and that call prompted an investigation, and in early November, Jackie and a small group of other black soldiers were finally admitted into OCS. It was a first in the Army, a barrier broken. Black and white soldiers working, studying, eating, and living together. On January 28, 1943, Jackie received his gold bars, becoming a second lieutenant in the cavalry of the U.S. Army. His leadership ability and his character earned him the appointment of morale officer of his unit. None of his achievements, however, gained him admittance into the White Officers Club. Nor did they end discriminatory promotion practices. He would never be promoted over a white officer in his unit. It was even questionable whether any black soldier would ever be sent into combat. Most were being placed into service units. There was nothing Jackie could do to change those policies. But when some black soldiers complained bitterly about their treatment at the PX, the post exchange or on-base store, he decided to see what he could do about it. All soldiers shopped at the PX. It was like a department store where soldiers could buy food, clothing, and sundries. It was often crowded, and it could take time until shoppers were able to make their purchases. Seating was segregated, and there were far fewer chairs available in the black section than in the white section. Where those limited seats filled up, black soldiers often found themselves standing, even if seats designated for whites were empty. Jackie decided to confront the matter head on. From company headquarters, he telephoned the provost marshal, head of the military police on the base, and Jackie did not challenge the segregated policy. He merely asked that more seats be provided for black soldiers. This lack of adequate accommodations was an indignity for his fellow soldiers. He protested. The provost's response made it clear that he did not care about the dignity of black soldiers. Jackie continued to press his point anyway. The provost, who did not know Jackie and so was unaware that he was black, finally excused the lack of seating by saying, "Lieutenant, let me put it to you this way. How would you like to have your wife sitting next to," and he used a very horrible term. Page 29. Unable to contain his anger, Jackie shouted back, asking the provost if he knew how close his wife had ever been to a Jackie's outburst caused all work and conversation around him to stop. Silence fell over company headquarters. No one could believe what he had just said to a superior officer. Jackie ranted on. The provost, who couldn't get a word in, finally hung up. Jackie's protest got results, however. More seats were added to the PX area reserved for black soldiers. On April the 13th, 3 months after receiving their second lieutenant bars, Jackie and the other black officers at Fort Riley were notified that they were being sent to Camp Hood, Texas to join the 761st Tank Battalion and prepare to fight in Europe. Okay, that's the end of Chapter 7. Have a great rest of your day.